The questions are buzzing around in people's minds. Fear paralyzes the everyday life of ordinary people. One wonders when it's going to end. The coronavirus has reduced the world to its weakest point. Thousands dead, millions of lives hanging on the balance. But we will not be defeated. We'll fight until the victory we hope is near. Tribute to scientists, doctors, nurses, security forces, and to everyone, including you, our dear viewers, who are mobilized to defeat this invisible enemy that has stunned the world. I am delighted to see you again on Football Planet, a program dedicated to football news. The COVID-19 pandemic that has been holding the world hostage for several weeks now is a major news story. Dear viewers, thank you for staying with Africanews. Coming up. With football still at a standstill, the coronavirus continues to take the world hostage. In the face of the global health crisis, clubs are trying to adapt to this unprecedented situation. To avoid bankruptcy, measures ranging from pay cuts to dismissal of players have been adopted by several clubs, such as TP Mazembe. He was the first coach to give France its first international trophy. Michel Hidalgo passed away on Thursday at the age of 87. He will have left his mark on an entire generation and on world football. Shortly, we'll hear from one of his former players, Alain Giresse, of the famous Magic Square. Can you teach Lionel Messi when you're his coach? Absolutely nothing, many of us may say. But are we really right? The right answer with former Barcelona coach Luis Enrique. Details coming up shortly.
On développe tout ça juste après cette petite transition.
Sources of revenue cut off an exorbitant wage bill to manage in a climate of uncertainty. Football clubs have not escaped the wrath of COVID-19, which has brought the entire global economic system to its knees. If they are to survive, they will have to hope to see the health crisis end as quickly as possible. But before then, a lot of sacrifices and decisions will be needed, sometimes difficult to accept both in Europe and Africa. TP Mazembe, for example, have just sent all their players on technical leave without setting a deadline.
Serge Kofi et de Michael Dibi.
Players from Congolese club TP Mazembe were forced to hang up their boots for a while. The club's management had decided to maintain the suspension of training sections of its teams of all categories in compliance with the measures to fight against the coronavirus introduced by the Democratic Republic of Congo. The cessation of collective training section does not, however, mean the cessation of physical activities. Players have been given an individual fitness program to which they will submit daily. In addition to a physical schedule to be respected, the medical staff will keep their practices open and will organize daily visits to the players to check their state of health. The Lubumbashi Ravens, as they are known, have been urged to comply with the health instructions to avoid any contamination of the coronavirus. TP Mazembe are currently in the first place in the Congolese League with 53 points and 5 points ahead of the second place AS Vita Club.
Et cette situation, je vous le disais, affecte...
And this situation affects virtually every championship. But while many have agreed to make sacrifices, there are still limits that some players are not willing to cross. That's the case in Spain, where footballers have refused to be sent on short-time work. And for good reason, unlike countries like France, where players continue to receive 70% of their gross income. In Spain, short-time work is potentially equivalent to zero pay. The captains of professional clubs who met via video conference on Saturday opposed this. In France, the Professional Players Union expressed its concern about wage cuts, which it believes threaten many players. We can't wait for the end of this agonizing crisis that has brought all but a few championships to a halt. Yes, it's playing out in some countries like Belarus, an European exception whose president describes the COVID-19 crisis as a psychosis, a perception shared by fans who refuse to see the coronavirus infect their devouring passion for football.
As the rest of the European football is put on hold to combat the new coronavirus, the Belarus Championship plows on. Avid fans brush off any fears of contagion to cheer on home side Mozia as they upset the country's top team, Bet Borisov, with a 2-1 win. Sick people will not come here, only healthy people will. And what's more, we've all been checked. We personally are from the village. We do not have the virus, and I hope we will not get it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. We'll keep coming to the stadium until it is no longer allowed. Our president said that working on tractors will cure everyone, so we'll be fine. Special measures have been put in place nonetheless, including thermal cameras to check the temperatures of fans as they enter stadia, which are disinfected twice a day.
Let us just hope that these measures will enable these football fans to avoid what has happened in other countries. He will have made history of world football and French football in particular. Michel Hidalgo passed away on Friday at the age of 87. He will have been the one who gave France its first international trophy. It was at Euro 84 in Spain with its famous Magic Square, of which we have on the telephone line one of its members, Alain Giresse, also former coach of Mali, Senegal, and recently Tunisia. Welcome to the show, Alain. I imagine that the death of Michel Hidalgo must be a hard blow for you, isn't it?
Yes, first of all, it is very sad. It's a very painful news. We knew Michel Hidalgo was very tired, very weak, but unfortunately his death came. It's very hard, yes, because he was an important man in French football, both when he was a coach and in the DTN and afterwards when he took over the national team. And I'm part of the team that put him in place, and at my level, I have his total and unfailing support for my qualities. He had great confidence in my abilities, which allowed me to play with the national team under his leadership.
What can we learn from him beyond the coach who gave France their first major trophy?
Well, first of all, he was a football fan. He was someone who lived football from morning to night, who had ideas, who had ambitions for French football, whether to organize it or when he was a national coach, to affirm the qualities of French footballers. That is a game based on technicality, creativity, and intelligence, to enable us to have the conviction that it is with these qualities that we will be able to obtain results. He convinced us and, of course, gave us the keys to make it happen.
One last question before you go. You're currently in a lockdown due to the COVID-19 pandemic. How are you coping with that situation?
Well, I heard that football is not outside of life and society. So, an event as dramatic as this one in France, in Europe, and all over the world, you have to know how to stand behind the guidelines. So I'm at home, avoiding moving around, going out, being at the service of what the authorities, both civil and health authorities, are demanding. At times like this, you know, football is not the most important thing, even if we obviously miss it a lot.
Thank you very much, Alain Giresse.
You're welcome.
Alain Giresse is former French international and a former player under Michel Hidalgo, who's just left us. His death is not linked to the COVID-19. The pandemic, which gives confined football players time to express their opinions on certain subjects, not necessarily related to current events. Here's a reaction from Spanish coach Luis Enrique. The former Barcelona coach talks to us about coaching Lionel Messi. Take a look.
How to train Messi? There is a bit of everything. Obviously, you cannot tell him how to dribble, pass the ball or how to shot on target, because he is amazing on all of that. So there is no need. But when we are talking about different game plans or specific moments of the game that we were interested in him to take part, of course we did. How and what type of high pressure do we want? Where do we want the ball? Or where he needs to be on the pitch to receive the ball? In all these kind of situations, we try to influence him.
And it is clear that we're missing the genius of the Argentinian at this time of the championship standstill. Can't wait for the end. That's it for Football Planet today. Thanks to the technical and production crew. For more on Africanews and Africanews.com. I wish you an excellent week with our programs. Don't forget to respect the measures to protect yourself against the coronavirus. I'll leave you with these images from the Stay Home Challenge. See you soon.
À très bientôt.